Hey everyone, how's it going? MainCommand here, and today I'm going to be talking about Dead Frontier 2, the new release that it's coming out in April 2018. I haven't gone around to it, for one reason or another, but I thought I'd talk about that a little bit today. As I've mentioned in my previous video, if you haven't seen it, be sure to check it out. And right now, as you can clearly see and tell, that I've barricaded myself in the northeastern zone. It is crazy out there. Aggro spikes, like, well, you wouldn't believe, but technically if you play DF, you know how bad it can get. I've barricaded myself in the top right hand corner of the very edge and end of the map, like maybe 3 or 4 blocks from the very end, to my right side. And I've made myself a nice cozy little outpost. As you can clearly tell, trading is just insane. I just want to get into this really quickly. The prices are just I know everybody's trying to make a profit and whatnot, but the prices are just crazy. Yeah, it's just yeah. So normally, if you can, try to obviously buy all your stuff at the outpost. If you can't, then or the main Second bunker or whatever, the main one of the 4 main outposts. But yeah, I've tried making it down to the bottom of the map, that little adjacent 6 blocks by 6 blocks, and I've never made it there. I just haven't had the equipment to do it, and every single time I get caught up in aggro and killed. But yeah. Anyways, that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to log out and by the way, my username's Halo, so if you ever want to add me on DF, or I have Discord, which is the command center, so you're always welcome to join it. Yeah, just give me a shout or comment or whatever, and then maybe we'll just go do some looting together sometime. But yeah. So there's the official site, and then there's the full announcement. Dead Frontier is coming in early April 2018. I'm just gonna read this, what it says here, so you don't really have to. Creaky Corpse blog. The big announcement, Sunday 29th October 2017. The day that you thought we've put off forever has finally arrived. It's time for the big announcement. With our 10th anniversary fast approaching, we've decided it's time to finally breathe new life into Dead Frontier. I'm not going to lie. We're both excited and terrified to make this announcement, as we're taking the game in a totally new direction. It's an opportunity to fix all our past mistakes and implement a decade's worth of feedback from community. But as with any birth, we expect a bit of pain and perhaps a little tearing along the way. That's to be expected. Without further ado, we're proud to announce Dead Frontier 2. So yeah, I'm probably going to read through all of it, maybe skip the boringest parts, but yeah, it's really interesting. Like, I'm a pretty hardcore, diehard Dead Frontier fan myself and player. There's some stuff I love about the game, there's some stuff I really hate about the game, but I thought I'd read up a little bit of info, since that's what I want to make this video about. I'm not really thinking about making another video about my personal thoughts. I thought I'd just throw it into this video. Like, as for me, I don't think that I might continue playing Dead Frontier 2. It's not that it's not an amazing game, but it's just, for me, it's one of those things that, like, everything it could be, and maybe this is going to be way better than all the other versions, but for me, I kind of feel like the aggro is a bit much and over the top. Like, when you're going about playing, DF, and you try to avoid zombies, I kind of feel like even when you at max, when your agility's maxed out, you try to avoid a hit and suddenly it glitches out and you get hit, or when dogs, or like every single unit runs up to you and then suddenly hits you, and then you're dead, like 3-4 hits and you're dead, even with like end game armor. I feel like it should be a lot stronger. It should be able to take a lot more hits, instead of being able to take, like, on average 8-10 hits and then the armor's broken. If it's in-game stuff and players are paying for it, I feel like it should be able to take like 100 hits from most enemies, and maybe like 50 hits from, like, some of the more powerful enemies, and then maybe 25 hits from bosses, something like that. And then constantly making it a challenge, so you're getting hit all the time, but your armor's actually there. It's not like a paperweight, just like, serving basically little to no purpose. I mean, then what's the point of getting it? Like, you'd still be going back to the outpost or hold out to get it, to have to get it repaired all the time. But it's just some personal thoughts. But yeah, so one of the things was I kept getting killed by aggro, as I would imagine a lot of the players do, and it's a bit annoying because there's no way, even with max agility, there's no way to get out of the way. And suddenly, like when dogs, for example, right, I would kind of like it to see a variety of different units, different enemies having different abilities when it's zombies. Like, for example, dogs, right? You know how they'd run up to you, and it's almost like a homing missile. Like, you try to, like, first you'd go straight, and then they'd run up to you, try to bite you, and then they, like, 50-50 chance of getting bit, even if you, like, sprint. And then if you try to go side to side, they'll, like, home in on you on a missile, and it's, like, instantly, and then they'll bite you, and then you'll be dead, and you have to start over. Like, that's a bit annoying. I think they should change that up a little bit. But just for the regular Dead Frontier version, I have no idea what Dead Frontier 2 is going to be like. This is just, like I said, a little bit of info on it, a little bit of my personal thoughts on it. And I mean, there's just seems like you can't really avoid any zombies, and they just one hit kill you and they're instantly on you. And I really don't like that. Then the fact that I think they should make the armor a lot more powerful than it is, especially the in-game armor. Like, even regular armor, like Exterminator XT stuff, they should make it so it's like, you can take 20 hits before it breaks instead of taking 2-3 hits from some powerful enemies and bosses are spawning everywhere. I mean, if they just, I don't know, I feel like if they just nerfed the enemies a little bit, OP'd the armor, kind of slowed them down slightly, or giving you the ability to, have the agility to dodge and then hit them, like market prices would be a little bit more reasonable, and it would just be an overall, like, better experience and much better game, and there would be, like, a lot less frustration, and it'd be more realistic and way better. So I'm really interested to see how Dead Frontier, what it has to offer and bring. I've been around since the Dead Frontier 2D beta version, so I was here from the start. I was here from the get-go, and I love Dead Frontier 2D version. It was my favorite. There's only been 2 versions so far. Like I said, third one's coming out, but the 2D version, I loved it. It was my favorite. And then, unfortunately, Flash was dying, as I'll read into a little bit later. And it was such an amazing game, but it had to eventually, I guess, die off, and then new and better things had to come. But like I said, with lots of, like, trials and errors, and I appreciate the work that admin Pond put into it and everything, and whatnot, the programming design that went into it. But still, it's like a love-hate thing with this game. Like, I love so many aspects of it. The market is my favorite aspect of the game, well, one of my favorites. And then fighting zombies is interesting too. A little bit of the storyline, which is awesome and amazing, but just the zombies, it kind of gets to me. Like, a lot of I tend to call a lot of BS on a lot of the hits, a lot of glitches, and just, like, where you can't go anywhere and you die. I get it's the black zone, but it still should be, like, modded a little bit so it's, like, more evenly, so players can survive a little bit longer. And even the end game stuff doesn't seem to be doing it. Like, the only players that seem to be surviving and barely at that is just, like, the dudes with, like, that are gold members, and they have the capes and they have the gats and end game armor, and even those guys seem to be struggling, and they just seem to be holding the zombies at bay. As for the rest of us, it's like getting thrown into a meat grinder. I'm running around with my AA-12 and my armor and just getting blown to smithereens. But enough said about that. I'm just going to read on. So I don't know if I'm going to continue. If I lose my account, that would kind of be a bit of a bummer, and that would be kind of that would just be terrible. But I don't know if I'm gonna get into Dead Frontier 2. It's kind of 50-50. I think I might, but then again, I think I've invested enough time, effort, and energy into Dead Frontier that I don't know if I'm gonna go to Dead Frontier 2, even though it might be a lot better, and it has high hopes and high promises, and like a lot of promise in my book. But I just don't know, because I've got other games that I'm doing. But by far, in my opinion, Dead Frontier is one of the best, if not the best, zombie game out there. And it's awesome that it's free to play, with that little bit of that, like, pay to win aspect. You know what I mean? Just kind of like throwing that a little bit in there, which is awesome. Just to kind of like nerf a bit of the aggro spikes, which is just insane and a little bit way out of control. And then just, like I said, anybody that's played DF knows what I'm talking about, like when they would just bolt up and suddenly run at you. Like, even other enemies. Like, I feel like some enemies should just be like slower and shouldn't even have the ability to run. And like, for example, dogs will just sprint at you and then they'll just one hit you, but you should be able to always have that chance. Like, you should always be able to dodge instead of just kind of getting glitched out or just instantly one hit killing you and then you die on the spot. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, but it should be a lot more challenging. Maybe they hit you more often, but you know, they should nerf their damage rates so they do a lot less damage to you, you know, just stuff like that. Sorry, I'm mumbling on. I'll read on. And then without further ado, we're proud to announce Dead Frontier 2. Roughly a year ago, we came to the realization that the only way to solve all our issues, bring the Dead Frontier franchise up to date, and once again grow our player base was to make a totally new game, and that's exactly what we've done. So sorry about rambling on. I feel like I need to get that off my chest. I don't want to make this video forever. Just, yeah. I'm just going to read on. I'm excited to say that Dead Frontier 2 is nearing completion and will have the following features on launch: an all-in-one game client. Nothing runs in the browser. Awesome. That reminds me of WOT, World of Tanks, which is an amazing game. So browsers, seems like Dead Frontier 2 is going to have the kind of same concept. It's going to be its own independent thing, all in one inclusive package. So it's not relying on the browser or anything like that. It's all wrapped up and good to go. No more P2W, cosmetic and utility upgrades only, and still free to play, which is awesome. Just amazing. The biggest thing, free to play. Probably going to give, obviously, players that are paying for a little bit of an advantage, but that's actually kind of neat too, because then if you have money, you'll throw that in there. If you have time, you'll grind. So it works out fairly well both ways for both parties, and then maximizing your player base, etc. A brand new 4-player multiplayer system that focuses on player experience above all else. No more glitch zombies. I hope so, because the programming was a bit sketchy, and it looks like this is going to be a massive improvement, which, you know, fingers crossed, really hoping. So a lobby system making it easy to find and create game instances. Nice. A totally new skill system giving the player a meaningful way to improve their character with every level build. Complex stat system giving almost endless build variety, a more immense over-the-shoulder camera angle, modern current-gen graphics, procedural game world that regenerates daily, giving a far more reliable experience, realistic post-apocalypse trading system with multiple markets, currencies and taxes, notice board for missions, upgradable vehicles, upgradable weapons, crafting system, true survival horror, not just mindless action. So it seems like this is going to be a little bit of Dead Frontier, but only Dead Frontier 2, which is going to be the same, maybe a little bit of the old one, like I said, but better than it in every way, shape, and form. And something I'm really looking forward to, but I just don't know if I'm going to get into it. Because if I get into it, I go balls to the walls. I go all out, really hardcore. So, and then I invest so much time, effort, and hours into it. So I don't know if I have that to invest or if I'm going to do it, but you never know. If you're all interested in Dead Frontier 2, please visit deadfrontier2.com. We'll check out the site in a bit and sign up to the newsletter and follow the new Facebook, Twitter pages, and be kept up to date with developments. I will, of course, be posting more information, screenshots, video, etc. as time goes on, and we will get closer to the April 2018 launch date. Really looking forward to it. I hope it does well, because this is definitely one of the better games out there. What will happen to Dead Frontier 1? Unfortunately, I get this feeling it's going to meet the same fate as Dead Frontier 2D, but I don't know. As you'll read on, you'll understand that it was a tough decision, and you gotta just move on. Dead Frontier 1 is not going anywhere, and we'll be keeping it alive pretty much forever. I'll keep on top of patching bugs and security issues, and I may even throw in the odd update or two. I've even started chatting to various companies who can convert all the Flash elements to HTML5, thus giving DF1 some more longevity. So still, I think what's going to happen to the original DF is it's going to happen to the same thing as the original Dead Frontier 2D, which is going to meet the same fate. But I think this is what admin Pond's kind of saying, is that they're going to try to prolong the inevitable, like for and do the best they can, but in the end it's just gonna unfortunately die off. But I don't think it's gonna lose as much of the fan player base as Dead Frontier, like the 2D version did, because this is going to be a more gradual and less rough switch up to Dead Frontier 2. It's almost like switching up to something better, but it's not. It's yeah. Anyways, I'm just going to read on. I'm well aware that DF holds a special nostalgic place in many of your hearts. 2D held that special place in my heart. Dead Frontier, unfortunately, not so much, but it was a really great game, despite all the glitches and just kind of like the aggro and all the zombies kind of like, instead of having their own unique abilities, them just basically being thrown in a meat grinder and charging you out at once and then killing you instantly. Apart from that, if they kind of like diversified their abilities, some are slower, some are faster. Like the ones that are, you know, some do less damage, some more damage. You know, like you'd have some slower enemies that do a ton of damage and other enemies that are fast but do a little bit of damage, and then some enemies just stand still and spit stuff at you, instead of all just kind of like, you know, being thrown to a mosh pit and just like all of them running right at you, and then instantly just when the aggro spikes. I kind of feel like there's not a lot of strategy. Like it's just like one screen to the next, to the next, to the next, and you go through so many screens, and then eventually you pretty much just run out of steam and die at some point. And yeah, I'm well aware that I think we've read that before. And if anything else, it would simply be a bad business decision to let it die. All your characters and items will be available for as long as you want them. If I was going to switch over to Dead Frontier 2, I'd just do it automatically. And it's really unfortunate because I've got almost 10 million cash in the bank that I've like put my blood, sweat, and tears into, and a lot of time and effort into like building up. So that's going to be sad kind of to see it go, because whenever, you know, when I hit my first like my mill, I was like, you know, giggity, you know. So what's the right word for it? Like giddy. I'm like, yay, 1 million. And then yeah, it was just awesome. Just all the hours put into it. What will happen to Dead Frontier 1? So yeah, I already read that. And then can I reserve my DF1 account / clan name in Dead Frontier 2? Yes. So that's awesome. We all add a system in Dead Frontier 1 which will allow you to reserve your name before the launch. The same will go for clan names, with the owners reserving them. So that's good for all you clans out there. Because that would kind of suck. Because you get some really good names and some really formidable clans. Like just one off the top of my head, this you know, besides Warwolves, Scarlet Sentinels, etc. Can I transfer my DF1 character items to DF2? Unfortunately, now that was the good news. It's bad, a little bit of bad news. There's no way to transfer characters and items to DF1 and DF2 because their systems are very different. However, we do understand that some of you might be upset that the characters you have invested time or maybe money into will be unable to follow you into the new game. Ah, man, that's a bit of a downer. With that in mind, we have devised a system of reward in DF2 for DF1 players. So the reward system's kind of nice. I'll briefly read through it. I'm planning to go through this whole thing, so I hope this video doesn't end up being like 2 hours long, and you're like, "We hate you, MainCommand. Why do you make me watch this?" For the same reason I make these videos. I have no idea why. We are currently DF. Oh man, I wish you could somehow reserve your characters and everything. This time when you will be unable to follow you into the new game. So you completely lose all your characters, items from what I'm, everything, man. Gotta start from scratch. But the reward system's kind of like, I feel like a band-aid. You know what I mean? You're bleeding out, you're cut in half, you're like, ugh. Just like basically a carcass, and it's like, here you go, here's a band-aid, you know what I mean? Here's like a kid's band-aid with some nice smiley face pictures on it. We are currently preparing a bunch of unique cosmetic items to be given as rewards to players owning DF1 characters. There will be a reward for having reached each of the following milestones in DF1. Base level 20 or higher, base level 50 or higher. So I've made it to level 50, which is nice. Just made it, so if I got into it, I'd have at least those 2 rewards. And there's players that have, oh man, they've just maxed out. Base level 100 or higher, 200 or higher. There's 4 rewards right there. Being level 325, so if you've maxed out, you got 5 rewards right there. Owning a UWC or WC, owning a UGAT or GAT, owning a VG, owning any of the DUS items. So I'm guessing if basically every player that I know that's maxed out that I've seen pretty much will get all the rewards and perks. So that's a huge thing. Those band-aids certainly help. In addition, any real money that anyone spends has spent on DF1 from the start of 2017 to the full release of DF2, probably April 2018, will be transferable to the new game. So that's awesome, man. That's icing on the cake and the cherry on top. The real life money value of which you will get, of what you get will be matched precisely. So that's awesome, man. You didn't lose anything. If in fact you gained all your. For example, let's say you bought 10,000 credits this year and bought a VG with them. Not only do you keep the VG and DF1, you will also get a unique cosmetic item in DF2 and $240 worth of credits in DF2 as well. Why only cosmetic rewards? Can't we have something powerful in DF2? DF2 is strictly a non-pay-to-win title. So that's what they're saying, and I believe that that's true. To some extent. But it's nice that they mention it. If we allowed powerful paid items from DF1 to DF2, it would immediately lose its status and people would call the game pay to win again. Unfortunately, cosmetic items or cosmetic upgrades are really the only thing we can grant without tainting the new game's reputation. So I understand that you put the time, effort, energy into it, I can respect that. I have multiple DF accounts. Can I still transfer everything? Yes. Ta-da! You can apply rewards from multiple DF1 accounts to the single DF2 account. All credits and cosmetic items will be pooled together. If you end up multiple copies of the same reward, that will allow you to have the item on more than one DF2 character at the same time. I am banned in DF1. Can I play in DF2? Yes. We are not carrying over old bans from DF2, so that's a good news for all you guys that try to, I guess, hack or glitch or get away with some shady stuff. It's a totally clean slate, fresh start over, so you're more than welcome to play the new game. What are the minimum specs for DF2? At this stage, we do not have exact specs, as we would need to do in-depth testing of the final game to determine this. But I can say that the current build runs fine on my 4-year-old budget laptop. My goal is to have the graphics scaled down low enough that everyone will be able to enjoy it. So that's a huge bonus, because then we'll all be able to play. Can you explain how X works in DF2 in detail? More details will be released about the new game over the next few weeks/months, as well as screenshots and videos. So I'm looking forward to that. And we'll see a few screenshots in just a bit. There is a lot. See if we can't find some videos as well. There is a lot to cover. Too much for this post, and I bet. And there is some stuff we'd like to keep as a surprise until we are near release. Don't worry though, I can promise it'll be good. No doubt about that. Why didn't you just update the existing Dead Frontier? Wouldn't that be quicker and / easier? In a nutshell, no. It was actually far easier to start work on a new game. Below is a full explanation. Be warned, it's long. So I don't mind reading it. I hope you guys don't mind me reading it either. Back in 2007, I started work on Dead Frontier. I was 20, and so this is going to be like a good life blog of admin pawn. So I think it's really interesting, and I really look forward to reading this for you guys, and then save you the trouble of having to read it too. I was 20 and had been running my little indie games business for about 4 years already. So he put 4 years of his life into this, man. That's crazy. I'd wanna do something like that. If I had the talent and ability, I'd put 4 years of my life into graphics design, animating, but I can't draw or animate anything to save my life. Whilst I could program and had been since I was a little kid, I was entirely self-taught. And to be honest, my code was an utter mess. Dead Frontier was my first real attempt on doing anything online, and my knowledge of client/server tech was literally zero. I didn't even know the basics of PHP and MySQL at that time. I don't even know what that is, to be honest with you guys. If somebody knows, leave a comment in the section below to give me give us somewhat of an idea of what Admin Pond's talking about, because I have no idea on code. I've taken like a course in school, did not do good, barely passed, so coding I guess is not my thing. Effectively, I made the game by installing some free-form software, hacking it to store some extra variables about each user, and then slapped some Flash elements in various places. Job done. It wasn't exactly the game I was dreaming of making, but it was a good enough approximation. So that's interesting, because I've even played those really not just the 2D Dead Frontier, but even the older ones, the ones that just came out first, like that gave you somewhat of a little bit of a taste of what's to come of Dead Frontier, like the old 2D kind of like animations when you're trying to get to the helipad and take off in the chopper and save the little girl and her we assumed was like her uncle or something. Oh man, those were awesome. Oh, I got like an all-time high score on those. And then it was the 2D version and Dead Frontier and then Dead Frontier 2, so something newer and probably better. Whilst it kind of worked, it was incredibly inefficient, slow and buggy. But that's impressive, writing over just a small amount of code like that. Oh, it just made this awesome Flash game. Over time, my programming skills improved massively, and with some help and guidance from Neo Soap, I managed to improve the online side of things. I wish I could self-teach myself how to design and make graphics and games and stuff like that, but just can't do it. I just don't have that skill set. I don't know. However, I never fully managed to unentangle the game from the forum software it was based upon. So I think he basically has to just start from scratch on a new platform, which makes it a lot easier. You don't have to worry about all the bugs and coding and different base platforms. So I get that so far. You have to, instead of rebuilding on the old buggy, glitched out platform, just starting from scratch and just making something better from the ground up instead of constantly trying to do repairs on like, a leaky house, right? If it's just bulldoze it, go over that stuff, and then just start over and build better, I guess. And anyways, I'll just read straight through. I'm not going to interrupt, because then this video is going to be like forever. I'm sorry for just going off on my random rants and rambling on about random stuff on DF. And even now, DF is still running with various bits of ancient code that I had copy/paste from the internet. Over the years, my updates had effectively been band-aids, temporarily keeping things running, but never actually fixing the core problems. So you gotta start over. Fixing the core problems would pretty much mean a complete rewrite of the server side, something that I've honestly been too scared to attempt for fear of breaking things and upsetting players. So I think that was a smart move on, just a smart thing to do. As anyone who works in the tech company, or as anyone who works in the tech industry will know, applying updates to big, messy, badly designed code is an utter nightmare. Changing even small things can unexpectedly cause big problems. Generally Generally, I spent 20x more time fixing bugs and patching security holes than I do adding anything new to DF. So DF2 does make quite a lot of sense. And we all knew that it was going to be something else. Like when it switched from 2D to 3D to something else, it was just bound to happen anyways. Everybody deep down inside knew that this was going to happen, even though most of us didn't really want to admit it. And when you're putting that much time into just to fix bugs and all the current nonsense that's going on and the messy coding, it's just better to start from, like I said, from ground up, from ground zero. That way you can always add new stuff and then get it right and then redo another one to make it better and so forth and so on. So, yeah, it is what it is. The 3D rewrite of the inner city was actually an improvement in this area. It was much better designed than the 2D client and made updates and fixes a lot easier for a while. However, even that improved style of coding is still far below the standard I would be writing today. So with time comes improvement and change. Sometimes for the better, sometimes maybe for the worse, who knows. Also, in an attempt to prevent certain types of cheating, I introduced more and more complex security systems to the 3D client over time. Whilst this system did and still do prevent a lot of cheating, they are incredibly hard to manage. For example, the last big round of 3D client updates had lots of bugs which triggered the security systems, leading people to be banned unfairly. Further updates to the client are likely to have the same or worse problems. Ever since Google Chrome announced that it would be dropping NPAPI, I'm just going to pretend like I know what that is and what they're talking about, the tech that allows the IC to run in the browser, I realized that the clock was ticking for Dead Frontier. My initial response to that was simply to create the standalone client. However, this was only ever going to be a temporary solution. Keep throwing those band-aids out there. The system of clicking through links to start up the game each time you visit the city is incredibly messy. I also I also knew that Flash was dying, and it wouldn't be long before it too was blocked in most browsers. I knew that the only real solution to this problem would be to have Dead Frontier running as a proper all-in-one client. All in all, man. A single EXE that runs everything from the IC, the marketplace, the market, the forums, all in one app. However, I must admit that when it came time to start on this project, I was immediately hit with a wave of depression. I can only imagine. I was about to embark on a lot of hard work, but at the end of it all, after all the endless bugs and fixes, we'd still just have the same old Dead Frontier, built on top of the same buggy, badly designed server side that we've always had. I forced myself to start work on it, but progress was incredibly slow and demoralizing. As I worked on it, I began to realize that there were a lot of other things I didn't like about Dead Frontier, beside the programming. Whilst I've always been proud of the game, I made some questionable design decisions, such as, 1. Complicated and confusing food/drink/health/repair system. 2. Dying in the outpost. And then 2 again. Weird and quirky controls drag food to your mouth. LOL. I remember that. 3. Too much walking. 4. Unbalanced high inflation economy. It's kind of what I like about the marketplace and hate at the same time. Love and hate at the same time. 5. Too much grind. 6. Short-sighted stat system. Lack of rewards for high levels. 7. Lack of build variety. 8. Power creep. 9. Too much pay to win. And probably a whole bunch more I'm forgetting. I did plan to add more features to address these issues, but it felt like I was just sticking band-aids on it again. It would be a huge upheaval to change the core design of the game enough to fix these problems. Such things such as the economy might be never actually be fixed, as it's hard to get rid of items / cash already in circulation. Yeah. There's plenty. There is pretty no. There is. It's quite long, so it's typos and spelling errors are bound to happen, and I'm just rereading them just to give that little bit more effect and authenticity that this is from admin. There's pretty no way to undo the P2W. That's why I keep stumbling. Some of these words are just stumbling blocks. That, and I know one language and I struggle to even do that well too. But anyways, Polish is kind of a second thing. English is just hard enough for me. I don't know how some people manage to have like 8 different languages they can know off the top of their head. They're like French, English, German, Russian, every language in this world. I don't know how they do it. But anyways, just side note. Elements, it's like more like a brain fart, of DF1 at this stage earlier. I was also very aware that DF looked incredibly dated. And our stats were showing that we quite literally were not attracting any new players anymore. New accounts are now just old players returning to see how things had or had not changed. So I began to think about improving the graphics, maybe launching an HD version of the game so that we could attract a new audience. Yeah, that's good thinking. I also think it's just like certain people like horror genre survival games and other people don't. I don't know, but a lot of people just for one reason have never heard of it, or just they're not aware of it, or never experienced the awesomeness and frustration of Dead Frontier. You guys are missing out on so much. Then in late 2016, it suddenly hit me. Making all these changes was a huge and scary undertaking that would probably require several years to complete. And by that time, I expected that the dwindling player base would already be gone. I'd still be here along with a few others. Maybe GarpDF. Shout out to GarpDF. Check out his YouTube channel. Not to mention, we'd still be running on the same unstable routes. I realized that making a new game would actually be a lot easier than trying to drag the existing DF into the current gene of games. For the first time in years, I actually felt excited about working on DF again. A new game would be a chance to get things right. Taking into account everything I've learned about game development over the last 10 years, whilst getting rid of the shackles of the old design and code, I really feel like making DF2 was the right choice. I agree, as much as I don't want to admit it, and I'm confident most of you guys will agree once you've seen it. If you're at all interested in DF2, please visit deadfrontier2.com and sign up to the newsletter and or follow the new Facebook, Twitter pages to be kept up to date with developments. I will of course be posting more information, screenshots, videos, etc. as time goes on and we get closer to the April 2018 launch date. So I know this video has been long overdue, just haven't gone around to making it, but I finally made it, read the forum, see what they have to say, or see what Admin Pawn has to say. And there are some screenshots I'm going to just show you in a little bit, but I thought I'd skim through comments. So 284 comments. Well. Nice updates. I will get my free U credits because first to comment also. Of course, somebody. That one guy that always comes in first. Awesome. Glad you like it. So what would we be getting in return for owing stuff? Well, you just pretty much explained it above more or less. And this one from Garp. This is incredibly terrifying to hear, but I cannot help feeling excited at the same time. I will be checking up on this for sure. Keep it up, Neil. Glad you're excited. That's what I like to hear. Thanks. Some other stuff. Let's just read one more. Well, I don't know what to play now. But I think that I'm going to get to 221st. But okay, DF1 is going to be dead after this. LOL. Yeah, just some other comments. The list goes on and on. And yeah, let's just go to Dead Frontier 2. Revelations 25. The rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were ended. This is the first resurrection. So a quote from the Bible for all you Bible thumpers out there. I've actually read the Bible. It's the whole Bible, the whole thing. So I can vouch for that quote. Okay, and then so let's see if we can't, just one last thing before I go and leave it on a note. Let's go to our trusted friend Google, see what's up to, and then Dead Frontier screenshots. Let's see what we can find on here in terms of screenshots. Dead Frontier 2. Okay, so yeah, we've already visited that. I just want to get some good screenshots before I leave. Something else, don't feel like we're doing more reading. There were supposed to be some screenshots around here somewhere. Facebook, nope.